Perfect. Perfect.
Hello everyone, these are the video notes for 2.2. I would like you in your notes to please copy down the title. Please make sure you have the title written down, 2.2. Also in your video notes, please copy this down right now. So pause the video and copy this down. You need this exactly the way it says. If you want to do the colors as well, pink, blue, red, and green, this might help you visually see this in your head. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next. In this example, we're going to be talking about how to reflect a shape in a coordinate plane. So what happens when we flip a figure or when we reflect a figure? There are some rules, and these are the rules, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't forget to have these written down with you all the time. So first of all, what is the x-axis? So if we drew a line like this, horizontally, this would be the x-axis, and if we drew a line vertically, this would be the y-axis. So we need to know what it's saying. So when it reflects across the x-axis, we're talking about stuff on, we're talking about stuff on this side like this. When we are talking about the y-axis, we are talking about stuff on this side like this, okay? So it goes like that. So now these are the rules that we need to follow. So what exactly do these mean? So for example, let's say I had something like this. I had the number 1 and 1. And all right, so here's 1 and 1. And I want to flip it across the y-axis. Which one is the y-axis? Here's the y-axis. So we have our original letters. We have x, our original coordinates, x and y. What happens with these numbers? So one of them, so I'm just going to put parentheses here. That's my x. And what happens with it? It turns negative. And then the y just stays the same. So my new point should be negative 1, 1. Let's see if that's true. And here it is, right? So we went across the y-axis, all right? Now, what if I want to go across the x-axis? Let's say this is my original number. It is negative 1 and 1. And I want to go across the x-axis. Which one is the x-axis? Well, it's right here. So we need to change that y. That's what changes. So we have our original x and y. I'm going to put my parentheses. It looks like my x stays the same. It's going to be negative 1. But what happens with my y? So my y is still 1, but I have a, I have a negative in front of that y. So my new point should be negative 1, 1. So here's negative 1, 1. That is my new point. I do want you to please draw this graph, and I want you to label in your notes. Again, I want you to label all the points, okay? Specifically the original, not the prime, right? That's A prime 1, B prime 1, C prime, and then A prime 2, B prime 2, and then C prime 2, right? I want you to label these ones in your notes. And then I want you to show the work just like this. So you label the point, that's letter C, right? That's negative 1, 1. And then I want you to show me the flip. So how did it get to prime 1? It said over the x axis. I want you to write it down like that. And I want you to show me how it got flipped, okay? So that is the idea. Let's see if we can put this into practice. This is example 1, 2, and all right, ladies and gentlemen, in example number 3, we're going to be trying to put this into practice with everything that we just learned. So it says like this: a graphic artist designs a t-shirt using a pentagon with vertices of 0, 0, negative 2, 0, negative 1, 3, negative 4, 3, and 0, 7. The artist reflects that pentagon in the y-axis. All right, so the y-axis, don't forget, is up, down, right? Y-axis, to create a design. Find the coordinates of that reflected image, then draw the design. So they already, right, they already did that image like that. Now all they want to do is what are the other points, the other points. So how can we figure that out? We are going to reflect across the y-axis, we said, right? So that means we need to change our numbers into, this should be, right, here it is, negative x and y. Well, lucky for us, 0 and 0 cannot be positive or negative, so 0 and 0 stays the same. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it's going to get tricky. Notice it says, so I'm talking about this point right now. So the answer is, let's see if we did this correctly. You're supposed to have a negative parentheses like this, right? Because it says negative x and y. So if we plug in our numbers, I have 0 here, and then I have to plug in that negative 2. Do you guys notice anything? What just happened? Right? This is called a what? Do you guys remember? We got that double negative, so that actually turns into what? A positive. So this is going to be 2 and 0. Okay? And that is the reason why we need to put those parentheses, because otherwise it will not make sense. All right, let's try the other one. So now we have, right, it's going to be, let me zoom in a little bit more. We have negative x and y. Okay, so remember, the x is going to be in the parentheses, that minus sign is going to be on the outside, and then we just need to plug in my number. So what is my x? My x is a negative 1, and then my y is a 3. Okay, so what do you guys notice? I have a double negative, which makes that a positive 1 and 3. Next, we have to follow through again. So remember, we have to have negative x and y. This actually transforms into negative parentheses like this. All right, so the x gets the parentheses, the minus sign goes on the outside. So that's negative 4 and 3. That's a double negative, so that actually turns into 4 and 3. And then last but not least, same thing. We have a negative on the outside, parentheses. And then we have 0 and 7. 0 can be negative or positive, so that's just 0 and 7. And if we did this correctly, we should be on the right path. So let's see, 0, 0 is right there. We did that one. Now we have 2, 0. We did that one right there. Good. Now we have 1 and 3. We did that one right there. Now we have 4 and 3, which is right there. And then we have 0 and 7. Which is right there. So we did this correctly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are getting stuck on the parentheses and things like that, just let me explain one more time. This letter gets the parentheses. This falls on the outside. All right, that is the only thing. And then you just need to plug in the number. Whatever that number is or whatever it is, it needs to go directly inside, because you might have double negatives and you might not. The only way you're going to know is if you follow the rules and plug in the parentheses the correct way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you the best. I will see you guys in the In this lesson, we will be talking about reflections. A reflection is a flip. It's also a transformation. So the way you would see your reflection in the mirror is kind of the exact same way we would see reflections in geometry. Okay, so what is a reflection? Well, a reflection is a transformation in which the figure is reflected across a line. That line is called a line of reflection. A reflection creates a mirror image. So mirror means exactly the same thing of the original figure. So if we look at this shape right here, the line of reflection is this right here. Okay, and it's going to flip. Now I want you to be careful. I'm going to erase this to kind of give you an example what it's not going to look like. All right, so it is not going to look like this, right? This is kind of what it looks like on this side. That is not correct. When you look in the mirror, it's the opposite. So notice it's the opposite. It flips its reflection. The best way I can show you to do this will be with the piece of paper example, and we will do that together in class. Okay, so that is a reflection. Let's take a look at some examples. Let's see, letter A. Is this a reflection? The blue one to the red one? Yes, it is. So it flips. Notice that some of you are going to be like, well, no, it's supposed to look like this. That is not correct. It is not supposed to look like that. Okay, so that's wrong. It is not supposed to look like that. This is a reflection. And we'll get, the more we practice this, the more it will make sense to you. All right, let's take a look at this one. Is this one a reflection? No, it is not, because if it was a reflection, it would have looked something like this. Do not judge my drawing. Oops. but it should have looked something like this. Okay, that would have been a reflection. What it is, that's just a slide. It just slid right over, a translation. Okay, so in example 1, I do want you to try your best to try and copy this down to give yourself some examples for the video. So again, please try and copy those down to give yourself an example. All right, here's another one. Is this a translation? Sorry, a reflection. Is this a reflection? No, this one is not. Because if it was, this point right here probably should have been somewhere like this. Okay, so that is not a reflection. Is this a reflection? Yes, it is. That is a reflection. All right, let's move on to the good stuff. Example number 2.
Perfect.